Imagine this for a second. You've got 2 full years of rent, guaranteed, it's all set, ready to go. You find the perfect apartment. This should be a slam dunk, right? A done deal. But then, the landlord says no. This is the story of what happens when a guaranteed promise hits a brick wall, and a person's entire safety net gets tangled up in bureaucratic red tape. It's one woman's fight against the very systems that were supposed to help her.
And this is the voice of Tamitra Nunn. Those are her actual words from a desperate call to the Social Security Administration. And they just cut right to the heart of it all. This isn't just about some paperwork mix-up or a policy dispute. No, this is about the real, devastating human cost when the systems designed to be our safety net fail.
So how in the world does someone get into a position like this? Tamitra's story, it really starts with 2 battles happening at the exact same time. One for her disability income and another for a place to call home.
Now, what makes this whole situation so wild is that Tamitra is not someone who's clueless about how systems work. She was a senior city planner, she has 2 degrees. But even she got completely swallowed up in this bureaucratic nightmare when her approved disability payments just stopped. And just like that, her whole life was thrown into chaos.
And right here, you can just feel the massive disconnect. On one side, you have her reality. It's urgent. She's saying, I can't keep sleeping on people's couches. On the other side, you get this totally detached, hands-off response. It wasn't even a no. Her case was just stuck, lost somewhere in the machine, where the very people who are supposed to help just say, sorry, we don't have any control.
So that brings us to the second front in this fight, finding a place to live. While her disability income was stuck in limbo, Tamitra actually secured guaranteed rent assistance from the county. That should have been her lifeline. But, as you'll see, that lifeline was about to slam into a completely different kind of wall.
Just look at this timeline. It shows you how unbelievably frustrating this was. This wasn't a quick no. It was a nearly year-long saga with just one apartment complex. An application, a denial, months of nothing, and then, out of nowhere, a welcome home email. Can you imagine the relief she must have felt? Only to have it ripped away just as quickly.
This number? This was her approved disability income. Every single month. Over $2,000 guaranteed by the government. On top of that, she had separate guaranteed rental assistance from the county. I mean, financially speaking, you couldn't ask for a safer bet as a landlord. So why on earth was she getting rejected?
Well, it all came down to this one rigid rule. The landlord's policy said that applicants had to show personal income of twice the rent, and they absolutely refused to count the guaranteed housing money from the county as income. It's a classic catch-22. The very program that was designed to get her a home was now being used as the reason to deny her one.
Now, if you're thinking, wait a minute, that doesn't sound legal, you're right. There are actually specific laws designed to prevent exactly this kind of thing from happening. Let's take a look at the rights that should have protected her. Okay, first up is something called source of income protection. Basically, in places that have these laws, a landlord can't just turn you away because your rent money comes from a subsidy instead of a traditional paycheck. The logic is simple. Guaranteed money is guaranteed money. Period. It doesn't matter where it comes from.
And second, under the Fair Housing Act, there's this really important concept called a reasonable accommodation. It means a landlord is required to make a small, reasonable change to their rules if it helps a person with a disability have an equal chance at housing. In this case, that reasonable change would have been for the landlord to just, accept the county's guaranteed payment instead of blindly sticking to their income rule.
Tamitra's struggle with Social Security wasn't some freak accident. It happens all the time. As you can see, there's a whole list of reasons payments get held up. Her file wasn't lost in a black hole. It was probably just buried in a queue, a victim of systemic backlogs. It just goes to show how one little administrative snag can spiral and have these massive real-world consequences.
So after that final crushing rejection from the first apartment complex, Tamitra actually found a new place that said they would accept her. You'd think the fight would be over, right? But believe it or not, the bureaucracy was just getting warmed up. A whole new set of hurdles appeared.
The pressure on her was immense. To lock down this new apartment, she was basically told, sign this lease now. But here's the catch. By doing that, she was accidentally breaking the rules of her own housing program. The program required an official pledge letter to come before she signed anything. She was in another impossible trap. Listen to the landlord or listen to the program.
And this is how everything just snowballed. First, signing the lease early broke the program rules. Then, to make things worse, the lease itself had the wrong rent amount because of a paperwork delay on the landlord's end. And the final nail in the coffin? A total communication breakdown. Her caseworkers and the apartment management literally couldn't get in touch, so the payments were just stuck. Every single gear in the machine just seized up.
This screenshot of her texts is just heartbreaking. It's hard proof of how hard she was trying. You can see her trying to coordinate, trying to pay, trying to do everything right, and it ends with this undelivered message, a PDF about her rights as a survivor of violence, just sent into the void. It's like a perfect, painful symbol for this whole ordeal, a cry for help that nobody ever received. So all of these delays, the missed calls, the bureaucratic roadblocks, they were all leading to one single devastating conclusion. Even in the apartment she had fought tooth and nail for, the system was about to fail her all over again.
And this is the final price. An eviction notice. After everything she'd been through to get into this apartment, she was now being told to get out. Not because she couldn't pay, but because the system itself had failed to deliver the funds. That was the number on the eviction notice, a little over $1,400. But that number isn't just about missed rent. It's the tangible cost of all the friction, the miscommunication, and the endless delays. It's the cost of a broken system.
So after a nearly year-long battle fought on so many fronts, what can we actually take away from Tametra's story? Her experience really shines a light on some much bigger questions about the very systems we've built to protect people.
The randomness of it all is just stunning. Think about it. Same person, same assistance program. One landlord's rigid no created a year of instability and homelessness. Another landlord's simple yes provided a home. It just shows you how much power a single person's decision can have over someone else's entire life. So what's the bottom line here? First, these systems that are supposed to help us can be an absolute bureaucratic nightmare to get through. Second, laws like the Fair Housing Act are on the books, but they don't enforce themselves. You have to know your rights and be ready to fight for them. And finally, her story proves that rigid, inflexible policies are a huge barrier. And sometimes, a person's survival literally comes down to the kindness or flexibility of just one other individual.
And that leaves us with this one big question. We build these complicated safety nets to catch people when they're in crisis. But what happens when those nets get so tangled up in their own rules and red tape that they actually trap people instead of setting them free? When that happens, whose job is it to cut them loose? The person fighting to survive? The agencies? The landlords? That's a question worth chewing on long after this is over.